solving an equation involving complementary or supplementary angles. All right, so we need to know a couple of things before we get started here. What is a complementary angle and what is a supplementary angle? So a complement means that it adds up, the two angles that are complements add up to 90. So let's see, I'm going to write this kind of down low here and hope that it works out on the next page here. So I'm just going to write complement instead of complementary just in case I have to rewrite the whole thing. So complementary angles add up to 90 degrees. So the two angles will add up to 90 degrees. If there's supplementary angles, and I'm just going to write sup again because I may have to rewrite this on the next page. It may very well be in the way. These two add up to 180 degrees. So complementary angles add up to 90, supplementary angles add up to 180 degrees. So now that we know what they are, we just have to know how to recognize them. So complementary angles, we're actually going to see something like this, where it's a 90-degree angle, and we'll have another angle or another line going through like this. So it creates two angles in here, but we have this 90-degree mark, so we know. If it's supplementary angles, then we're going to have a flat line, and then we're going to have the other angle going up from the middle, something like this. And it doesn't necessarily have to be 90. It can be, but it's probably not going to be 90s. So if we have a flat line, then we're dealing with supplementary angles. If we have a right angle, then we're dealing with the complementary because that's a 90-degree angle. All right, so now that we know that, well, we go through and we're looking at, so they tell us angle 1 is 3x and angle 2 is x plus 36, sorry. So they give us the two angles here. And then we can see we're working on a flat line with another line coming out of the bottom here, or just the straight line. So we have two angles that add up to 180 degrees. So we're going to say angle 1 plus angle 2 equals 180 because we're going to add those two together to get 180. Well, we know angle 1 is 3x, and we know angle 2 is x plus 36. So instead of angle 1, we're going to put 3x. Instead of angle 2, we're going to put 3x plus 36. So once we have this, and they put parentheses here simply to show you that that is the whole angle 2. So that's the reason for those parentheses. They're not 100% necessary for the problem. So we can kind of drop them away in our head and just start adding like terms. So we have 3x plus x. That's how they got 4x plus 36. We didn't do anything with the 36, so they just brought it down and equals 180. Again, didn't do anything with it, so just bring it down. They're not quite showing you this next step, but what they're doing is they're taking this 36 and they're subtracting it to the other side. So that's why 4x is by itself, because 36 minus 36 is gone. That becomes 0. And then when I subtract it to the other side, I take 36 from 180 and I get 144. And then again, the last step they're not showing you here is they're dividing by 4 on both sides. 4 divided by 4 cancels, which is why x is by itself. 144 divided by 4 is 36. So they didn't quite show us all the steps there on how they got it, but those are the steps that they're just kind of going from one to the other, little jumps there. So now I know what x equals, but they want to know what the angles actually measure. That's what we need to find. So we have to go back. They told us angle 1 was 3x, and we know x is 36. So we say 3 times 36, and we get 108. Angle 2, they said, was x plus 36. Well, x is 36, so we're going to plug in 36, and then we're going to add another 36 to it, because that's what they told us to do. So we get 72. And those are our two answers. So we have to apply complementary supplementary rules to find the variable, and then go back and plug that in. I'm going to erase this because this will be in my way on the next page, and hopefully that bit of notes is not in our way. So make sure you do write notes down. I don't have a lot of space on here, and I don't necessarily know how the next page is going to pop up. That's why I was trying to guess here that this space will be empty. But you should definitely be writing some notes down as you go. So perfect. That is not in my way. I get to leave that as it is. All right. So we want to find angle 1 and angle 2. This example looks exactly like the example I put next to complementary. So this is a 90-degree mark right here. So we know that we are going to use the complementary rule, meaning that they add up to 90 degrees. They tell us that 1x is, no, what's wrong with my pen tool right now? It's being really funky. This is 4x, and this is x minus 5. They've told us that up here in the directions. I know that both of these add together. And when they add them together, I have to get this 90 degree because they make up the 90-degree angle together. So I'm going to add them together. So now I'm going to add my like terms. I have an x and an x right here. Remember, if there's no number in front of it, it means 1. So 4 plus 1 is 5x. I'm going to bring down minus 5 equals 90 because I didn't do anything with minus 5 equals 90. So it just drops down. All right, now I can start solving for this x, meaning I want to get it by itself. So I'm going to start moving things away from it. So first I'm going to move addition and subtraction. 5 is being subtracted, so I'm going to add. Remember, there's two sides of an equal sign. If I add to the left side, I have to add to the right side. And I'm going to bring 5x down. Negative 5 plus 5, they're opposites, so I subtract. And when I do subtract, I get 0. That's what I wanted to happen. 90 plus 5 is 95. And the last step here is to undo the multiplication of 5x. And under multiplication, I use division. 5 divided by 5 is 1. Any number divided by itself is 1. So x drops down by itself because we don't have to put 1x. It's not required. Just like up here, there wasn't a 1 in front of it. We assume the 1 is there. And then 95 divided by 5. They don't give us our calculator, so you can very well write this out like this if you need to. So you have divided by 5. You can go in once. You have 5. 4 drops down, so it goes in 9 times. So you get 19. You are welcome to use a calculator, but it is just as easy to do this step also. I didn't put that there so you can see there's no remainder. So we know 19 is equal to x, or x is equal to 19. That's not what they're asking for. We need to know what x is to find our answers. So now we have to go back in, and I'm going to do this one in hot pink for whatever reason. So the measure of angle 1 equaled, they told us that was 4x. Well, I know what 4x is, or what x is. It's 19. So I'm going to say 4 times 19. And I get, let's see, 19 times 4. So I get 36 and then 7. So this is 76 degrees. The measure of angle 2 was x minus 5. Again, I know what x is. It's 19. That's what we did all this work for on the left side here. So 19 minus 5, and I get 14 degrees. And if I add these back together, what should I get? I should get 90 because together they should add back up. So can I check this really quick and make sure that I do in fact get 90 degrees? Sure, that's a good way of checking it just to make sure that you did all your math right so that nothing ends up funky there. All right, so let's check that. And we're good to go. So I'm going to erase all this other junk here. Try to leave my definitions there. Takes a minute to erase because there was a lot of writing on this one. Okay, almost there. Okay, so let's go ahead and go next. Okay, let's go back. I kind of had a purpley on the last one. We'll do kind of a light blue on this one. So this one again is showing us it's another 90-degree angle here. Whoops, I totally forgot to change the size of the pen. There we go. So it's showing us another 90-degree angle here. So we know we're using complementary rules. These two angles, angle 1 and 2, have to add up to 90. Well, angle 1, they're telling me is x minus 6, and angle 2, they're telling me is 7x. So I'm going to go 7x plus x minus 6 equals 180. Oops, did I say that wrong? Of course I did. I looked over there and was not paying attention. It equals 90. We're using the complementary rules, not the supplementary. All right, let's add our like terms together. So we have 7x plus x, which is just 8x. Remember, even though the 1's not there, it's assumed that that is a 1x. And we bring down negative 6 equals 90. So now we can start solving for x, meaning get it by itself. We're going to add 6 to both sides. Remember, there's always two sides of an equation. We bring down 8x. Again, I haven't done anything with 8x. Bring it down. Negative 6 plus 6. Well, they're opposites. I'm going to subtract, and I get 0, which is what we wanted to happen. 90 plus 6, we get 96. And now our last step is to divide by 8 on both sides, because 8 divided by 8 gets me 1. That's what I want to happen, so x drops down by itself. So now I need to do 96 divided by 8. So this one might require a little bit, actually no, we can do this one in a regular division, just because 9 is big enough, so I don't have to try to go into the whole thing. I can go in once, which is 8, bring down the 6 and the 1, so I get 12. So in this case, I can do just a regular old division problem to get this one. I was thinking if it's smaller than 80, you're just going to have to know your multiples on that one. But if it's bigger than 80, it actually will divide nicely like this where you can do it in pieces. All right, so we know x. Remember, we don't want x. We want to know what angle 1 is and what angle 2 equals. So, sorry. We want to know what angle the measure of angle 1 equals and the measure of angle 2 equals. So angle 1 was x minus 6. We just figured out what x was. It was 12. So 12 minus 6 is 6. And then we figured out what angle 2 was, or what x was for angle 2 also, because it's 7x. So we again know what x is. So we just multiply by 12. And let's see, we get 12 times 7 is, we get 14, 7, 8. So we get 84. 84 degrees. If I add these together, I should get 90. So if I add those together, I do in fact get 90 degrees. That is a really good check just to make sure that they do in fact come back to the correct degree. So I have 1 is 6 and 2 is 84. Check. All right, so let's go ahead. I'm going to go ahead and clear this just so I don't have to erase it all. And we just need to remember our rules on the next page. So we should have them written down already. So I'm going to use orange on this one. So we know angle 1 is x plus 78. We know angle 2 is 2x. Now we're on a straight line. We're not on a 90-degree angle anymore. So we have to add these two together. Either way, we're going to be adding them together. We just need to remember, if it's on a straight line, they add up to 180. The last two were 90s because it showed us something that looked like this with a 90-degree mark. So just be careful. Make sure you're using the correct one based on what they're giving you in the diagram, all right? So let's go through here. We're going to add some like terms. So we have x plus 2x, and we get 3x plus 78 equals 180. So it just comes right down. And now we can start solving for this x. We want to get x by itself. So I'm going to start undoing what's being done. I'm going to start with addition and subtraction. So we have plus 78. I'm going to subtract 78 from both sides. And I have 3x. Okay, we're still good. So we have 3x, 78 positive, 78 negative. Those cancel like we want them to. Equals, and we're going to subtract here. So we have 10, 2, we get 0, and 1. So we get 101. Last step we want to do here is divide by 3. 3 divided by 3 is 1. Any number divided by itself is 1. So x just drops down by itself. Equals, now we need to know what is 102 divided by 3. So it can't go into 1, but it can go into 10 3 times for 9. And then we bring our 2 down, and 1. 3 can go into 12 4 times, and we have 0 left over. So we know x equals 34. Remember, that's not what we want our answer for. We want to know what the measure of angle 1 equals and the measure of angle 2 equals. So angle 1, they told us, was x plus 78. We know what x is. X is 34. So 34 plus 78, and we get, we get 12 and 11, I believe. 112. And then for 2x, it was 2 times x, or just 2x. So we're going to go 2 times 34. Again, we know what x is. Equals, we get 8 and 6. If I add these back together for my check, I should come back to 180 degrees. So let's try it out real quick. We get 10, and these aren't lined up very nicely, but here's my carryover, and the 1, 2 plus 6, we get 8. And then I'd carry my 100 down. So it'd be nicer if I rewrote that so they lined up a little better, but I do get 180 degrees when I add those back together, which is what I wanted to happen. So I get 112, and I get 68. So let's check. And we're good to go. We finished another one. Yay.